Nancy, today I'm going to make soup. It may take me a long time, but this is in real time. If you don't want to watch it in real time, go away. I just have water in the pot. And over here I have some chicken.
Confidential medical records. Here is Ellen Richardson describing what happened on CBC Toronto's Metro Morning.
The U.S. Customs officer cited a June 2012 hospitalization that I had for clinical depression and said that because of that,
Has some deep freezer burn, you know.
And needed to see, he gave a list of only 3 doctors in Ontario that were deemed appropriate to do what's called a U.S. immigration medical, and that's what I needed in order to enter the U.S. But it really just hit me later that's quite stunning that they even would have that information.
That was Ellen Richardson speaking today on the CBC Toronto program Metro Morning. Now the question, of course, is just how would a U.S. Customs and Border Protection agent have Ms. Richardson's personal medical information? That's what her lawyer, David McGee, is trying to find out. We reached Mr. McGee in Toronto.
Mr. McGee, when
Try it. I'm going to cook it the way it is.
told you the story, had you ever heard of something like this before?
By the U.S. border authorities without her knowledge, or I don't know how such confidential records would have been permitted to be released by the Ontario government. And it's obviously a violation of patient confidentiality. And at the moment I've written to Deborah Matthews, asking if she had any explanation. I haven't received a reply. And at this point we don't know what the source of the information was.
I guess who's using the information is the U.S. Homeland Security Department, and how do you think that Homeland Security could get that information? What are the routes into the entire data banks, do you think?
We don't know. I have some information that in a previous instance, where another person, not my client, tried going to the States, they were able to retrieve information about the person from police records in Ontario. But that doesn't seem to have been my client's case, because it doesn't appear to have been any police involvement in her June 2012 hospitalization. So at this point, we can only focus on the access of medical records.
And how do you think that they got them?
And there's only two ways. Either they were released or permitted to be accessed by the U.S. authorities, by the Ontario or federal government, or they simply got them through their own computer.
And them being who?
The U.S. authorities were able to access her medical records, computer medical records.
What department do you think would be doing that?
I think there's probably many departments that do that in the States, for the NSA, and it's been in the news recently. I think they have access, they can do it if they wish to do it.
Do you think that the NSA hacked into Canadian records?
I don't know if they did. I have no evidence that they did that, but it wouldn't surprise me.
If they're saying that it is possible if police were involved at all, in previous cases, the CBC has investigated, it seems to have been when, for whatever reason, police were called in on something. Is it possible that police were involved at all in the time that she was hospitalized?
Only perhaps if there was a call for emergency services like an ambulance to take her to hospital. I know that emergency services involves the police, the ambulance service, and the fire brigade. Usually all 3 services receive a call, but that would be the only involvement. I don't think there are any actual police involved in taking her to the hospital.
Now, what happened to you that you came barred from going to the United States?
Not so entirely. They gave her this list of hospitals in Ontario that they say can provide her with treatment. She would have to pay for it. There are only 3 doctors that they refused on. One of them is out of town, the other 2 are in Toronto. Apparently, according to the Richardson investigations, they're all just family doctors. And she offered them the telephone number of her psychiatrist, and they said no, they wouldn't accept that. And presumably they wouldn't accept a letter from her own psychiatrist. They want a report or a letter from one of these
she was given the names of people involved when she had been stopped by Homeland Security, and she had to pay $250 to get a letter that would be on her record.
You know, the price seems to have gone up. Now they're saying they want $500.
$500 to get a letter to say that she's not a danger to the U.S. Is that what the...
Yeah, I think that it was mentioned at the border that she may be a danger to herself or others. In other words, suicidal.
Do you know anybody else who's having this issue?
Oh, lots of people are calling me, yes, and I just got offline talking to another fellow who apparently was denied access because of his medical records, which involved some other type of condition, but for that reason he was denied access.
Again, medical records, not police records.
Medical records, non-police records, yes.
Can you give us any idea of what his medical records were that barred him from admission?
Well, he said it was a case of hepatitis C for which he was cured, so it was not a criminal matter or a police matter. They seem to have access to this, and they said, well, no, we regard it as a contagious disease, and therefore we wouldn't admit it.
What was she going to the United States for?
She was actually going for a Caribbean cruise that was organized through the March of Dimes, and so she would have only flown to New York and then on to Florida to take up this 10-day cruise. So she lost her cruise, and now the insurers refused to compensate her, even though she had fuel interruption, cancellation insurance.
Oh my gosh, and she's in a wheelchair, is she?
She's paraplegic, she's in a wheelchair, yes.
How important was this trip there?
Very important. I mean, she has gone on a number of these cruises since she became paraplegic, and she looks forward to them greatly, and they're very therapeutic for her. And so, you know, I see this as victimizing the victim.
What can we do for her at this point?
Well, we're making inquiries to see how this information was obtained and see what we can do to correct the situation, and also pursuing compensation through the insurance.
Maybe Mr. Snowden can help you.
Quite so, yeah.
Mr. McGee, thank you.
Bye-bye.
It would be Richardson's lawyer. He was in Toronto. Ellen Richardson was denied entry to the United States on Monday because of a previous episode of depression, hospitalization due to depression. In fact, we spoke to Dave McGee in Toronto. And we did ask the U.S. Department of Homeland Security for comment, but we have not received a response, or at least we hadn't by the time we went to air. We also asked one of the doctors certified to conduct her U.S. immigration medical exam for comment. He refused, referring us to the U.S. consulate.
You know celery is an anti-inflammatory?
It has been a busy old week in the air above the East China Sea. The activity is in response to China's recent creation of a new air defense zone. The area is above a group of disputed islands. This week, after creation of the zone, the U.S., Japan, and South Korea all promptly sent planes into this airspace. And today it was reported that China deployed fighter jets for the first time, apparently to investigate U.S. and Japanese aircraft flying through the same zone. James Natcom is the author of a new book called Bridging Troubled Waters, China, Japan, and Maritime Order in the East China Sea. We reached him in Waterloo, Ontario.
Mr. Manacom, with all these jets flying over this airspace in East China Sea, is this a kind of saber rattling?
Yes, it is saber rattling. I think China expects countries in the region, particularly Japan, but also the United States and South Korea, to respect this new zone they've created, even though it overlaps with similar zones declared by Japan and South Korea. Part of the reason they expect its neighbors to adhere to the zone is because these neighbors also have as well an air defense zone. So if they have one, why can't China? Is the thinking in Beijing.
But these islands, well, they're basically rocks, aren't they? I mean, they're not inhabited. What is the value? Why are all these different countries flying over, trying to assert their authority or control, or just fly the flag over them?
Well, it's popular to say that there's a resources dimension to this, and that's possibly true. China is producing oil and gas in the East China Sea on what China and Japan agree is the East China Sea, rather than the gas. But the islands in China just a concept, because the islands in China are tied to an anti-Japanese sentiment that has always existed as a part of the Chinese people since the time of Japanese war began in 1937. But it started particularly after 1989, because the government of China has made sure the Chinese people are aware of Japanese atrocities committed in a war that happened over 50 years ago.
With what we've seen this past week, though, does it seem to you like a rather dangerous escalation in tension?
Well, I'm trying to be a little bit optimistic about it, because, the fundamental problem in the East China Sea right now is you've got jets from multiple countries that all claim the right to exercise authority in the same space. That's a similar condition to what we had in the waters surrounding the islands themselves, within the territorial sea, because both China and Japan claim the islands. Both countries send Coast Guard vessels there and tell Coast Guard vessels from the other country to leave the water. Those Coast Guard vessels have not shot at each other yet, they haven't bumped into each other. They're actually behaving in a pretty professional manner. So I think we're going to see some bristleship and some saber rattling in these early days, but I hope and I expect that in the coming weeks, aircraft from what are essentially, at the end of the day, very professional and advanced air forces from Korea, Japan, the United States, and China even, will act as such and will exercise restraint and caution.
What do you make of what China did this week by creating this air defense zone over these islands and claiming this sovereignty? Why is China doing that now?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, the move is obviously unhelpful. At a time when China has improved relations with Korea in the course of this year, it's improved relations with several Asian countries after a fairly tumultuous 3 to 4 years on that front. It's a bit surprising, I suppose, and frankly, I'm disappointed that the Chinese government has gone and declared this zone in a clear effort to put pressure on Japan. Having said that, there is no law against declaring this zone. All of China's neighbors have this zone. If we in the West are critical of China for the declaration of the zone, in and of itself, all it does is reinforce narratives within China that there are in fact two rules in the system. One set of rules that support the West and one set of rules for China. And I don't think that's very constructive.
You mentioned that this might be China's part a bit of nationalism, anti-Japanese sentiments and politics involved here. Does it go the other way as well? Is Japan's desire to exercise control over these islands, is it caught up with Japan's nationalism and trying to get President Abe's view of Japan's place in the world that's front and center?
Well, I think there's two different kinds of nationalism. I mean, in Japan, what you've got now is Shinzo is it, and there's what Japan being resurgent, and that's sort of a more civic nationalism. In China, what you've got is a very anti-Japanese nationalism. So whereas in Abe's nationalism, the reference is Japan and what it could potentially achieve if it did certain things, rebuilt the economy, loosened up interpretations of its constitution to peacekeeping missions, and lower that kind of burden. That's distinct from what is the nationalism in China that is focused on a war that happened 60 years ago, allegations the Japanese are not sorry for what they did. It's a little more nativist, if you like, on the Chinese side than the Japanese side. On the Japanese side, what you do have, though, I think is a general fatigue about China. They're neighbors, and, Japanese I think after, they've been getting along pretty well for 30 or 40 years now, and the relationship has taken a decided turn for the worse over the past decade. I think they're just tired of putting up with what they perceive to be unreasonable Chinese demands from Japan.
Okay, now enter South Korea. Why
Okay.
South Korea fly down?
Okay, I'm gonna go